program is brought to you by Newsworks in cooperation with the City of Eau Claire. This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
Time to start the meeting. The September Waterways and Parks meeting. We are on location at the beautiful Jeffers Fields, baseball fields. The first item on the agenda, we're going to switch up the order tonight too. We only have a couple of things on the new business, so we're going to move the last thing being a tour of this park. So we're going to move the special events and director's report up above that so that after the tour we can just leave from there. Adjourn and leave from there. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the August meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the August minutes? If not, we'll take a motion and a second to approve them. Joshua motions, Thomas seconds. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. The first item on the business agenda then is to hear a presentation only on the proposed creation of the DNR's Chippewa Valley Metro subunit to control urban deer.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out to Jeffers Park tonight. I appreciate being here myself. It's a great night to be here. I don't know how many more days are left like this. The urban metro subunit idea for managing deer populations was an idea that's been about 3 years in the making. A few years ago, the DNR restructured how the deer herd is looked at and managed in the state of Wisconsin. There used to be a number of deer management units throughout the state, and they were typically county highways and rivers and streams created these borders for these DMUs, or deer management units. Some years back, the state did a study of how to better manage our deer herd. The state of Wisconsin was broke into 3 zones. In particular, Eau Claire lands in the central zone. Eau Claire County is unique in that the management units now are split up by counties. So there's 72 county deer advisory councils, which I am one member of the Eau Claire County Deer Advisory Council. I represent more of the urban interest, or the city's urban interest in managing this deer herd. There's members on this council that represent Eau Claire County's forestry interests, tourism, et cetera, et cetera. The deer management, or the metro subunit idea then is an idea or a tool that's been used effectively by the DNR for a number of years now to allow for another tool or better management opportunities to manage the deer herd in urban areas, the Milwaukee area, Madison, Hudson, Green Bay. I know those metro units subunits have been in place for quite some time. There's never been one here in particular in Eau Claire, but this proposal from the County Deer Advisory Council will be to create a metro subunit for the hunting season next year, 2018. In the County Deer Advisory Council meeting early in the end of August, this was proposed, and we had also met with our neighbors to the north, the Chippewa County Deer Advisory Council, and they agreed that it would be worthwhile to combine and to these units simply because our boundary would typically be right here on County Line Drive, just north of Jeffers Park, and frankly, the village of Halley and the city of Chippewa Falls and town of Lafayette have the same issue with their urban deer herd, so it's more of a collective effort. The city of Altoona as well. We had taken, the Deer Advisory Council had voted to propose a metro subunit. The public comment period between now and October 5th is ongoing. October 5th will be a week from Thursday. The County Deer Advisory Council will vote on creating the metro subunit and ultimately, and recommending the metro subunit. Ultimately, the creation of the metro subunit will be a function of the Natural Resources Board of the DNR later on this year. So we won't know if we'll have a metro unit, but we hope to. And part of the rationale for that is, again, some of the struggles and challenges that the city of Eau Claire and the area in general have had with human and deer conflicts. The subunit is a tool that will be available to extend hunting season length. and allow opportunities for hunters to purchase additional antlerless deer tags. The creation of this metro subunit will not affect local hunting regulations at all. If there's areas that are off limits to hunting, they'll continue to be off limits to hunting. It doesn't open up private property to additional hunting seasons. Local ordinances will still apply. Some of you may or may not know, back in 2013, Act 71 was created by the state of Wisconsin, which essentially did relax bow hunting regulations for all municipalities statewide. So, and we've been under that guise for 4 years now. And if somebody wants to hunt on your property or private property, they still need to gain permission to bow hunt. And again, it would be in the city limits of Eau Claire. It would be limited to archery only or crossbow hunting. Outside of the city limits, the metro unit. There's a map attached to your packet. There are some townships that may or may not allow traditional firearm hunting, but I believe the town of Seymour now is archery only, whereas a few years ago they were able to use shotguns, but I believe that's now all archery only as well. I'm not quite sure what Chippewa Falls and Lafayette have, but again, it would be typically most of it will be archery only. If you have any questions about the proposal that's going to go forth, and again, citizens can come to the meeting at the DNR station, service station on Thursday, October 5th at 6 o'clock to speak to that end. But the County Deer Advisory Council will be recommending the creation of a metro subunit on October 5th. If there's any questions to that or regarding that, I'd be happy to entertain those as well.
Anyone? So, I'm still a little cloudy on the exact details of what we would expect in the city. So, does it creates or extends an archery season in the city, but not for guns?
The gun season, you are correct.
Okay.
There's ordinance, local ordinance does not allow gun hunting in the city of
Okay.
Eau Claire whatsoever. So there would be no gun hunting. It does add another few days to the traditional gun hunting season
Mhm.
if you're outside of the city limits where other ordinances
Yeah.
would apply. The bow season would be extended out to January 31st. Typically, the archery season ends right after the New Year's. I think it's the Sunday after New Year's
Okay.
Day, as a matter of fact. But it'll extend it out to January 31st.
And is the archery already permitted within the city?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Only during that season? then?
Only during
Okay.
the traditional Wisconsin archery season, which began last weekend. But this proposal would extend that out to January 31st.
Okay.
Do we have a guess list of the population for metro?
In the metro unit? No, we don't. We have done aerial surveys for the city of Eau Claire, the city limits of Eau Claire, and we do have some real hard,
What
factual
numbers?
numbers for you. I did bring.
Okay, that's okay. I was curious.
But Terry, we did notice a slight downtick from our survey from last year as well. Certain zones in the city, this being a zone, the Wellfield area being another zone, Lowe's Creek area, we saw some good, downturns in the population. I think we can attribute that to some of the hunting that's coming from some of these areas that traditionally weren't, were off limits to hunting. As long as that downtick continues slightly, we'll be content with that. Just as a sort of a point of reference, the social tolerance typical of where people will tolerate deer without landscape damage, car versus deer collisions, and Lyme's disease outbreaks. It's typically 15 to 20 deer per square mile. We have some zones in Eau Claire that are pushing 90 to 100 deer per square mile. So that's trying to rope that in. It's going to be an ongoing process. But it's as long as we see that with continued aerial surveys, and we're hoping to do that again next year. We hope to see that number continue to trickle down, and get those deer population numbers in a little more tolerable number.
Jason?
Does this include other deer management practices besides hunting?
Such, no, it would be hunting.
Just hunting?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Not sharpshooting or anything like that, or sterilization or anything like that.
Right.
Susan?
So might Hallie and Chippewa Falls join in the survey next year?
If they could hire their a firm to fly the routes.
Since ours is already set up.
It would be up to-
if they join it.
It would be up to them. I mean, obviously, the cost would be upon those units of government, but we fully intend to continue ours. We're budgeting for that. I'm confident that'll be supported in next year's budget. And again, it's without measurement, it's difficult to manage. So the surveys are our only real way to measure. We are looking again at the second year of a managed archery hunt on the Wellfield property. Last year was our first year for that. The DNR issued us 16 tags. Youth hunters and disabled hunters harvested on two weekends last year 11 deer, which was pretty good success for the first time. There was about a 45-acre section of land within the well fields that was delineated for archery hunting. We're hoping to do the same again. The Eau Claire archers are going to help us facilitate that hunt again. Kind of follow the same blueprint. The DNR is in support of that. They'll issue, again, I would imagine right about the same number of tags. Actually, our DNR wildlife biologist was very impressed with the success rate of the hunters that participated in the hunt. So we're hoping to see the same there.
The gun hunt for the in-city bow hunting, seems to me we're into like our third or fourth year. Yeah.
2013 is when Act 71 took effect.
And do you think generally it's been well received and people are supportive of it?
Yeah, I do. I do believe so, and I think that urban hunting pressure has helped contribute to that downtick in the deer population. I do believe. I think, and hunting is an effective means of controlling the population as far as being the least burden to the taxpayer.
Do you, so you said that there's kind of a threshold of tolerance. Do you have a sense of like how, so obviously by counting the deer, we know that we have a problem, but like based on how they interact with the people in Eau Claire, have you heard a lot of people complaining about, car crashes, or I know that in the Third Ward there's a lot of, flowers and vegetables being eaten and that sort of thing, but
Right.
other than that, have you heard much?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get quite a few phone calls or comments
Yeah.
Regarding folks are quite frustrated across the board with the damage that deer do to the landscape. Planting, vegetation that deer find undesirable works a little bit, but there's usually no color or no splash or no interest with that landscaping from the human side of things
Yeah.
either. So, but it works, but it has limited effect as well. During this public comment period, I've received good support, positive support for creating this metro unit, and there was one letter that was sent to me that was opposed to it. But again, it's the County Deer Advisory Council takes that under advisement, and again, those comments will be made available to the Natural Resources Board as well.
Anyone else? Oh, Joshua.
Is this proposal here to make 2 subunits, one for Chippewa, one for Eau Claire County, or will this be one
It'll be
functional unit
one metro unit, but
overlapping in 2 counties?
overriding 2 counties. Correct.
Will these antlerless permits, will they be geared towards a certain subset of hunters, or will they be widely available to anyone?
Within that urban subunit, the antlerless tags will be available possibly free or for purchase. And the County Deer Advisory Council annually sets the quota, which basically is the number of tags they feel they should issue to gain that quota. And again, this hunting season, or this Metro subunit proposal, if passed, will not take effect until 2018 season. So the County Deer Advisory Council would be looking at setting that quota up in the spring hearings, typically in March and April.
It seems to me, I remember from the past meeting that a high percentage of the tags that are issued get filled, like over 90%. Did you agree with that?
The tags issued in
In the city to bow hunt deer.
The tags currently that people use to bow hunt deer in the city limits, they're not issued. They're part of your archery hunting license. There's no special tag. There's no Act 71 eliminated the city to control any of that. This unit will actually give us a little bit of another measuring tool, if you will, to see how many deer are coming out of the specific unit, because deer harvested in this unit have to be registered as such. It'll be difficult to delineate if a deer harvested come out of the city of Eau Claire versus the city of Chippewa Falls, but at least it's a starting point. But currently the tag you have as an archery hunter is just your archery hunting license. Now, if this Metro subunit is in effect, it will allow a hunter to gain an extra tag with probably most likely with a purchase. And the one thing that will do is that it will have the hunter having to avoid, geez, I really want to, harvest a deer from my freezer, but yet I really like to hunt with my family and friends and maybe cabins, and it's part of tradition. You'll still be able to do that, but yet you'll still be able to have a tag within this unit, and that's in my opinion a good recruitment tool for bringing these numbers down, where you're not putting a hunter in a situation where he has to choose. Well, I really like I like hanging with my family and friends to archery hunt, but yet I know they're eating my landscape, and I just crashed my car, and I'd like to thin the herd in my neighborhood, so we'll allow the hunter both.
Do you have a sense for whether this increased hunting will bring down the population sufficiently, or will further measures be needed?
I think it's going to take some time to actually get enough data in the data bank, so to speak, to see how effective it is. As a matter of fact, Jason, the county deer advisory councils have only been set up. This system's only 3 years old,
Okay.
and when the deer advisory councils set quotas and trying to predict harvest, limits, there's a number of things that come into consideration. It's the winter severity, predation, fawn recruitment, things like that. And 3 years, in my opinion, doesn't really create a trend. I think it'll be another 3 years, and I think we'll have some real good data to look at based on decision.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koala.
Great question.
Special events.
Okay, there aren't any special events that we have to act on this time. We do have some new, they're not new, they're returning events that are highlighted in yellow. Those are such as the Memorial Homecoming Parade. These are some things that have happened many times, so they don't need to go to council for approval. Anybody have a question on any of the special events, or if they want specific information?
What was the stand up, speak out, demonstrate that got canceled?
That was a group that wanted to counteract a group which was called the National Socialist.
Oh, the neo-Nazis?
Yes, they were gonna. They had planned to come to the city of Eau Claire on September 16th. That was canceled. This was a group that wanted to come and counter protest that. So we were able to contact those groups, and everybody decided not to do that. And we were quite relieved about that. So,
I didn't get a chance to go downtown this weekend, but how did things go?
Fireball Road.
It went well. However, the turnout wasn't as well received as they had hoped.
The public?
and as far as the public goes, and I don't know how you control that. I mean, I heard plenty of advertising on the radio, and I saw some. There was a spot that I saw on the television. So. Their hope was, because we had the International Fall Festival going on and we had a couple of runs going on, that would attract more to that activity. But they were a little disappointed in regards to that. But as far as the event goes, it went off fine. I mean,
You're checking the organizers were disappointed by the turnout? Like the Fireball organizers?
That's what I understand.
Oh, okay.
Did they do the wall thing on, at the beach? Did they not do that?
They did, from what I understand, they did, but they didn't take the pontoon out. Their plan was to take the pontoon out and have the film crew on the pontoon, but they decided not to do that. So I don't know how exactly. I wasn't at that event, but they apparently went through. And then the other thing is, it was very hot, and so a part of their special event was to tube from Phoenix Park to Owen Park. Well, there were so many college students, and it was in the 90s, so it was busy. It was busy.
Did they
I'm
do
not
it?
Sure.
They did it though? The tubing?
They got in there. That's what I understand. But again,
When in Rome,
I think
right?
the whole thing was.
Is it live streamed or is it filmed in it? So we'll be able to watch it later.
From what I understand, it'll be about 6 months.
Okay.
So right now they're going through their 10 days or 11 days. So they went from here to Rochester, and from Rochester they go somewhere else, and I think they end up somewhere in South Dakota. And then what they'll do is all the film that they have, they'll take back. One of the problems that I heard, again, this is hearsay, so, is that much of their production crew is from Florida, and they got hit with the hurricane, so they didn't have all the staff that they had expected to be here. So I think that was another problem that they may have had. So.
You're talking about the Fireball run?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like one of the hottest days on record, but I was at the farmer's market at the time that they were over by that bridge, getting ready to launch, I think. So they wanted everyone to yell. Apparently you couldn't actually see them, but the first yell is very enthusiastic, and the second yell is pretty good, and by about the 28th yell, it's kind of like, okay, let's go. Which isn't surprising in production. But because I had company and so forth, and I wanted to know if there was some park that we could go, where little kids could go. But I couldn't find a detailed thing telling me where in town they would be at different times.
At what
I just
time?
couldn't find it. And maybe I just missed it, but that would have helped if it had been a little clearer, that you could, where you would find certain activities going on. It was more a general description. That's all I could find.
And their website wasn't very good at giving you the information about that.
Detailing, like
Yeah.
if you wanna watch them tubing, then go here and at this time and stuff like that. Which I felt they probably did know. So it kinda gives you the impression maybe they're not encouraging you to try to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, and that part of that advertising was really up to them to do. It wasn't
Sure.
the city's position to. I mean, we heard it through the special events. It came through this committee, went through city councils. It went through our approval process. However, how they message things out is really up to them if they want it to be a successful venture.
It's not something that will come back either, right?
Yeah.
They do it in different places every year.
Yeah, they go to all different places, so I mean, they don't typically go from what I understand, I think they're in their 11th season. They try to go to different places to see the history.
Probably won't be back for 30 years. So
I saw somewhere that some of the producers of Fargo Run were going to be invited to campus and saw the Robert Frost collection on campus. The chancellor, the university chancellor, showed them the Robert Frost collection, which I've never seen. So have you seen it? Yeah. There's an annual. I mean, there's Robert Frost poetry that is housed at UW at a fair through a very interesting journey. For some reason, they wanted to see that. I guess.
BJ's.
What's it?
I said BJ's.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
If there aren't any other questions, I'll go through the director's report.
Just for, not on the special events list, but I heard for word of mouth that the Pétanque court that was approved by our committee, they're having their inaugural game on Sunday, October 1st at 2 o'clock, if they want to check that out.
I saw a picture on Facebook of someone playing Pétanque.
Like
At the,
okay, I think that this is.
It's ready.
Okay, I think it's a big first event on Sunday at 2, so on the
That's
1st.
also their ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah, the big inaugural grand opening.
So I mean, that's something that this committee approved and the city council approved, and so they raised the funds. That's another good point about a public-private partnership that we developed through this group, is that they paid for the materials, we put it in, and it's working out great. So we got people actually utilizing that park. So it's a neat thing. Well, we have another ribbon cutting ceremony to talk about. Again, something that this committee approved was the Born Learning Trail. That was actually installed on Friday, September 15th by volunteers from Phillips Medicize. And their ribbon cutting will be on Tuesday, October 3rd at 5 o'clock. So again, that it's in. We've got kids utilizing it. I actually walked down the sidewalk the other day and I saw kids who were actually interacting. So that's a neat thing. The Carson Park main playground equipment, we did last night, the city council approved this. Lee Recreation from Cambridge, Wisconsin was selected to provide the playground equipment for Carson Park. There were 11 proposals that were submitted for this, and it was evaluated by staff. And we were going to bring and I'll do that, make sure I do that next time. Todd, did you bring that?
I have some sheets in my car. The proposal that Lee Recreation sent wouldn't even fit in my car. It was a huge sheet of tag board. But I can go, when we're up on the tour, I'll bring the copies of the renditions that
So
you submitted.
I know there was a request to see what that's going to look like. And, the play system, it's called a Play World system, offers 94 components with a capacity for 353 kids. Could be old kids, young kids, but it has that capacity. And that, as I said, that was approved last night by City Council. The tentative completion date for that work is December 1st. So,
When does it get started?
pardon me?
When does it get started?
There's a lead time, Todd, I think you said 4 to...
About 4 weeks for the equipment to be ordered, and then we'll start install as soon as the vendor has the equipment available. We'll be responsible for demoing what's there and doing the subgrading for the site to get it within 1 to 2% of final grade. So we'll take care of that as well. And they anticipate the installation to take up to 3 weeks. The one issue we have going late in the year, we wanted to make sure that most of the busy season for the playground had sort of dwindled. But under a good portion of the play equipment will be a rubberized surface. We call it poured-in-place surfacing, and that's temperature dependent. You need about 48 hours of guaranteed to be 50 degrees or higher. If the weather or the calendar sort of handcuffs us there, we'll postpone that portion of that install, the rubberized surface, until spring when the weather permits. And what we will do in the meantime is we'll cover the play area with the engineered wood chips that we use in most of our areas for fall protection. Then we'll just excavate that in the spring and then pour the rubberized material.
I don't think you're gonna get 2 days of.
Wishful thinking, isn't it? Yeah. But if we would have started the process sooner, say August, there would have been a lot of lost opportunity for kids and families to use the playground.
This is the upper playground, right?
We're at the main playground, yeah, not the one down on the Birch picnic area. And the issue there was that unit had reached its life expectancy. It was still passing all of our safety audits, but we just could not locate replacement parts at all. Even something as simple as a clamp and a bolt, they weren't warehoused any longer, and it was time to replace and recycle.
Okay, Fairfax Pool, we had a pre-bid walkthrough on Wednesday, September 20th for contractors that are planning to bid on the construction of a new first aid room and also an office in that area. Bids will be due back on that on October 3rd. Emerald ash borer has been discovered now in Chippewa County. Most recently, if you remember from one of the reports, I said that it was in Trumbull County. I'm pretty sure it's probably in Montclair County, just that someone just hasn't grabbed that little bug and identified it. But we're going to continue on with our forestry staff to get a healthy population of our ash trees. Just an FYI, in the last 3 years that we have been doing our preemptive cutting of ash, we went from 8,000 trees down to about 8,900 trees down to about 5,900. So we eliminated about 3,000 ash trees. And what we're trying to do is get a more diverse population. We don't want to get in a situation like we were back in the 1980s with the Dutch elm disease. So that's something that we're going to continue to work on. Hopefully we've done a good enough job that so when it does come here, we don't see a huge impact.
Can you talk a little bit about the urban wood that's being used, the ash wood?
Well, sure. Well, every meeting that we go to, we sit at a table that we use the repurposed wood that from our boulevard trees that we're taking out. So that's a good example. In fact, the other example is the nameplates that your names sit on during our meetings. That was repurposed red oak that we took out of Carson Park. That was from a tree that had blown over. We had taken it out, we repurposed it, so we made some things that we could use for common everyday thing. And there was actually an article in the newspaper where we have a group in Eau Claire that's using some of that wood to make guitars and things like that. So it's a good way of keeping that that wood legacy around. I burn wood, but I'd rather see it go to something that.
I think that's really cool that the city uses those ash trees that have to come down.
Yeah. That was a good idea. Half Moon Lake, just to give you just an update on that. The Causeway project is on schedule and expected to be completed and open to traffic the first part of November, so that's moving along real well now. We've done a park. The Chippewa Valley Pickleball Club held their Pickleball Palooza tournament on Saturday, September 9th at McDonough Park. The tournament was a huge success, and I guess I'll let Ron say a few words about that.
Thanks very much to Todd, and Jeff for getting things done in time. I was sweating it out to the very end there, and they promised me that it would be done, and it was done. And we had a very successful tournament. We had 68 teams this year. I turned away 12 teams. Even with 12 courts, we have become so popular that we are now going to have to really seriously consider going to 2-day tournaments instead of a 1-day tournament. And just a little addition to that, I got a call from the tournament director from Albert Lee, who had a tournament the same day. There were 3 tournaments in the Twin City area, and he said their specific tournament was down quite a bit, and some of the other 2 tournaments were down as well. Yet ours continued to grow. Last year we had 57 teams, and ironically, we had maybe 10 teams from the Twin Cities area. But we had teams from Ohio, Illinois, Florida, Nevada, Pennsylvania, And I think with it, we've really developed a reputation. And the facility is a gorgeous facility, and our club is going to continue to work and make it even better yet.
Was
And
there a champion crowned at the end?
we, in multiple divisions,
In multiple
we have
divisions, okay.
champions, depending upon skill level.
Did any of the local Eau Claire teams?
Eau Claire has actually got very strong pickleball players. One of they scale it just like tennis is from 1 through 5, and our 5-0 players, we've got a couple of 5-0 players, and you got to be very, very skilled to play that. One of them partnered with a guy in Lakeville, Minnesota, and won the top prize. That was a $1,000 prize that was offered for that. And the other one played with one of the very best pickleball players in the country in Illinois at the Muscular District Tournament, and they won that. So, in addition to that, our other skill levels below that are very strong players, and the majority of the winners were from the Eau Claire Triple Valley Pickleball Club. But we also drew out from all over western Wisconsin, Toma, all the way west to the Twin Cities area, and north as well. So we were very pleased. The tournament went well. I think we have a reputation of running a tournament on time and on schedule, and we did that, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And we're looking at the possibility of 2 or 3 tournaments next summer. So,
Did you have a count of how many people were there?
in players, we had about 100 players. In spectators and players combination, around 150 to 175. So, as I said, we were very pleased. The weather was perfect. We've lucked out 3 years in a row.
Susan.
So a friend of mine was playing pickleball over at McDonough, and her purse was stolen out of her car. And does Parks and Rec, I mean, they call the police and so forth, but do you get notification if something like that has happened in one of the parks?
So, yeah, sometimes we do, certainly do. In that case, it was something you want to report to the police.
Well, they did.
There was a police report on that. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that situation.
We do have cameras in that park. That's something that we certainly can use as a forensic type of device. It works in it. The police department knows that too, so they know the camera's location. They would use that.
They do, and they have increased their patrol in the park to make a presence, and I think that has. And McDonough Park has, in the past, had kind of a tougher reputation, and the pickleball club, I think, has helped moderate that.
Yeah.
But there are going to be occasional incidents in any park.
Well, thanks for doing that for our city. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I want to mention one thing too. Pickleball tournaments, I've been working with Visit Eau Claire, will generate $20,000 to $40,000 for the community on a one-day tournament. So, as we continue to increase our days and other tournaments, this will have a significant impact on Eau Claire and the business part of our city.
Yeah, and in that park, it's actually a good thing for that park area. As Ron had mentioned, it had a reputation of having some rather seedy type of behavior going on. And certainly, bringing something like this can turn that around. Prime times, just I mentioned this last time, but we always like to plug this, is that the fall and winter edition is now available. Special events, I went over that, but we continue to work with all the groups to conduct events within the city. Training for commissioners, chairperson, vice chairperson, that just finished up today. So Tom was at the training a couple weeks ago, and today Diane was at the training today. So we went over a lot of things on running a meeting, how to deal with, we saw some videos of some rather interesting things that happen at commission meetings sometimes, so.
Things that don't typically happen at a Waterways Park.
Yeah. We don't want that to happen. And then the last item that I have here, and Todd had already touched on this, is that the deer hunt is again going to occur. Last year, we partnered, there were 11 deer that were successfully taken. I'd like to say that 3 of those deer were taken by a young lady. But again, we're looking at this as a youth hunt, disabled hunt, and I think we were gonna advance that to veterans also. This year. We were looking at including veterans, that if they had a few of those veterans that wanted to come and hunt, we'd do that. Again, we'll be looking at 2 weekends in October to do that this year. So with that concludes the director's report.
Time for the tour then.
Yep. Okay. Well, we're going to be running out of daylight here, so we want to get the tour going so we can see as much as we can here of our Jeffers Park. This is our newest athletic field. And the one thing I want to say about this is this is a public-private partnership that we went into. Back in 2013, it was actually city was approached by the Eau Claire National Little League that they were interested in developing some ball fields here. So an agreement got worked out with the Eau Claire Nationals and the Eau Claire Fury softball leagues. In 2014, 2015, they constructed it. This facility, as it sits right now, cost $1,073,795. Of that, $579,000, more than that, was contributed by the private groups that raised the money to do that. The city, of course, provided the fields. We did the parking lot, the lighting out in the parking lot, and then also we built a maintenance building and then a mower to maintain this. So Todd can talk a little bit more about the maintenance that's required out here, but what we have out here is that the Eau Claire Nationals, they have over 300 players, ranging from T-ball all the way to their major. So from 5 and all the way to 12, 13-year-olds. The Eau Claire Fury, they have over 100 players from ages 6 to 18. So again, what a wonderful opportunity for us to provide a playing field here. And I've coached quite a bit in my time, and I've been to a lot of fields, and there isn't a nicer field that I've been to than right here. I mean, this beats any field that I've been in. Janesville has a really nice one. I'll give them credit for that, but this beats them out. You know.
What makes that so?
Well, the amenities we have here, and we'll walk around here and show you the concessions, the bathrooms, but the playing fields, the quality of the fields we have out here. We have a crew in our parks maintenance that takes a lot of pride in the fields that they put out here. And when you're playing on a field, the biggest thing is that you want to make sure that the surfaces are true, so you don't get any bad hops and you don't end up with a ball in the face. Every one of us that played ball at one time, we've had a ball in the chest, in the face, or something like that, and it's, you know, you try to smooth out that rough spot. But if you look at our fields, and we'll take a walk around, you'll be able to see. I mean, they're top quality fields.
It speaks to the culture in Eau Claire too. It's Eau Claire's a strong culture of baseball, softball, and the crews that work in our department that are dedicated to field maintenance take this job very, very seriously. And when we host tournaments, it's a sense of pride. When we host tournaments where people come in from out of town and play on these fields, the comments are over the top about how our fields are maintained and well kept. And it's really a credit to our frontline workers that spend the time doing this. And they actually built this. Well, the park was rough graded, and getting it to final grade and all the elevations on the fields and layout of fencing, it was all done in house. And there's some tremendous talents that we have in our staff.
And the last thing I'd like to mention is the Miracle Field, because that came in after the layout and the design of this field came about. And the city was approached by
the Goodwill Industries, along with some folks from the area, that they wanted to put in a miracle field. And that field is designed for kids with handicaps that play on that. And it's a really neat, if you haven't been there to watch it, you need to get out there and watch it, because it's really neat. Wear sunglasses, because it will draw a tear, you know, when you first see it. So it's really neat to see the energy and the excitement that the kids have. But as far as the fundraising with the groups, much of this was actually donated through different organizations in Eau Claire. So in-kind donations actually provided the building of this structure. This was the Chippewa Valley Home Builders Association actually donated much of the materials and time for this concessions. And we'll take a walk around. We'll walk through and look at, this is their concession area. Again, when you have a little league or softball program, this is a very impressive concessions area that you have with the size. And again, with these volunteer organizations, this is how they make their money. And all that money that they raise goes back to the kids. I mean, nobody in these organizations make money. We don't, you know, I've been part of those groups, and it's all volunteer, and it goes back into with the kids. And I think some of you, we've had the bathrooms open, but again, this is a nice area. You know, we're out in the middle of the field. It's got overhangs for people to have their concessions and have some shade. Our hope with the field areas is that one day we'll have mature trees for shade around the area. So it will look very much like Mount Simon, the way we have the shade trees along there.
And so would you be planting those trees like next year, or some of them planted already?
Some are planted out in the entrance area, but we'll be looking at other areas, bringing them in.
Very nice.
And not to appear like I don't know anything about baseball or softball, which of course I don't. But can you play either on these fields?
You can. Well, with the grass infield, that's typically more set up for baseball.
Yeah.
The ones that we call it a skin infield, that's the one with the dirt in the middle infield. We call those a skin infield. And you can play both there, softball and baseball.
Is there more than one with the grass infield?
There's 2 with grass, and then there's 3 with just the clay or the dirt.
Yeah.
And then the Miracle Field is over there, and that's got that rubberized surface.
Right, that's got the board-in-place surfacing.
So again, protects the kids from falls, and it's actually very soft when you run on it.
And that's the same that will go on the playground?
Yep. It's the same product. I think we can do that.
Is anybody interested in walking over there at that Miracle Field? We can take a walk over there. Again, Todd, you want to talk a little bit about maybe future tree planting in this area?
Sure.
One of the things that will certainly be in our intentions to do is to create in the outfield lines on the outside of the outfield fences is probably to plant some conifers, spruce trees. It'll help give a dark backdrop to a batter so they can pick up the ball quicker as it's heading to the plate. Areas like we're walking in here, these common areas, we'll do some installs of deciduous trees, shade trees eventually. You'll notice that these common areas that we're in between the alleyways, between the fields, are not irrigated. It is a struggle to grow turf without irrigation. But we're looking at a water cannon for these areas where we can hook up to a central hydrant and keep these fields wetted down. And if we have the ability to water, we can put in a stronger feeding program as well. Yeah, the fields themselves are irrigated. Yep, and they're on a nutrient management plan too, where we've fertilized about 3 times a year, Ron. So, and then these common areas too, if it looks like they're a little unmowed or left a little high we're letting the grasses naturally seed themselves back in, even around the Miracle Field. This time of year, we'd rather just let that seed in a little bit and let nature help us with our efforts. Playground was installed with a community build that was that's a game time product, and we had a lot of staff volunteer for that, and a lot of staff help, and that really gives a park feel to this sports complex for sure. Our plans eventually will to have a trail that goes around the circumference of the ballpark itself, and even our brush site, our greenway site over to the south. I think there's enough distance here to get a 5K trail in, which would allow event organizers to host events right out here as well.
Is there a bike trail?
With the proposed upgrades to Jeffers Road, there's going to be a bike trail that's proposed to be coming along the west side of Jeffers Road with some future improvements to Jeffers Road itself, and then ultimately making a link up to the rest of our trail system.
So a couple other things I'd just like to mention to everybody is that, and Todd just mentioned, is that the Northwest Community Park is just right over here on the east side of Jeffers Road, and our hope is that sometime in the near future is that we'll have a connection from Jeffers Road to that, so we can establish actually a connection point with a bike path that would be coming down the west side of Jeffers Road to this park, but also have the connectivity to the Northwest Community Park. So that's something that, if you recall, you had an opportunity to vote on for a zoning request change, and that didn't make it through council, but I believe that's going to be coming back in some different form at some time. And then the one thing I didn't mention, right now, currently the road to get into this park is coming off of Jeffers. In the future, it will actually be coming off of County Line Road. And if you look along there, there's a little berm that you see coming along there. That's where the road coming into here will actually make the connection. And it serves two purposes. One serves the purpose to connect to us, but it also serves a purpose to actually connect to the rest of the industrial park for development.
Until you have that other road, do you think it would be beneficial to have a sign at this entrance that says Jeffers Park?
Oh, well, certainly we can do that. We got a sign shop. We could make signs, and
Because I thought our meeting was probably supposed to be in the other park, so I'm driving around
Oh.
in there. And then I figure out that the odd numbers are on that side of the street, so maybe it's this park, which I can actually see.
yeah. I think we've been holding off on the signage, only knowing that the permanent road is going to be going into the to the other side.
We plan to have the monument sign, Jason, and we have that signage master plan. And you might have seen the signs that we finished up this spring at Owen Park. Something that has that look and feel. But with that kind of expense, we'll put it on that permanent entry, and we can certainly do something, a wood structure down on the east side for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful.
Mm-hmm. A detail that slipped their mind, I would say, when we're building a ballpark in our spare time, so to speak. But what's really impressive is, 3 years ago, this site didn't look anything like this. Last year, the fields were playable, and it was a game-only facility because we really wanted to get that turf healthy, and it paid dividends. This year, it was a full-service game site as well as practice site, and there was a lot of events held on this turf, and it held up wonderfully. It comes with a lot of work, but it's turned out well, very well.
So if you're a parent and watching, over there.
Yep.
Remember, we discussed this 2 years ago.
And they also,
Yes.
they're down the fence lines too. I mean, if you come to a game, you'll have people all the way down the fence line behind here. And I would say in the games that I've been here, there's well over 60, 70 people here during those times. And the kids are coming, amazingly, they're coming from long distances. I mean, I've had people that are driving 40, 45 minutes, Rice Lake, to get down here and play. So it's a neat thing. And if you want to come out here, you can actually walk on the surface. This is the same surface that we'll be using in Carson Park in the new playground area.
This is the poured in place surfacing, but you'll notice it's not very soft, but that's a playing field to get a truer bounce for the ball. But if you were to step over on the playground, you'll get a good idea of what the fall protection standard is for poured in place surfacing. And this is, and again, you can paint. This can be painted any color. We'll be able to choose colors and schemes, as we go forward with the playground install.
Okay, I wish we had more light. We could, this is a 40-acre area. We maintain 10 of it, but it's certainly a nice area to walk around in. And we hope in the future to do more of these with this commission.
That's a great idea, Jeff.
I want to, my plan was to try to get out to Carson Park if, and again, if that project comes to fruition. We certainly want to get out there, but I'd like to get out there. And we've got a lot of different places that we can meet and get out there and show you. Hopefully, next one will be the Northwest Community Park there, and if we get that access point to it, we can go out there and we can have a meeting out there. So.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Play ball.
So
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for the tour.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and the City of Eau Claire. A transcript of this meeting is available for the hearing impaired. It will be available within 7 days of this telecast. Call 715-839-4912 or TDD 715-839-1689. Or write Eau Claire City Clerk, P.O. Box 5148, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 54702-5148. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715-839-5067 or online at valleymediaworks.org.